Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Luffy is trained by Kaido, and got Harem, movie 6. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I do not own this fanfic, and also make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, DOUBLEM7, and support him for writing this awesome fanfic. Link is in the description. Let's begin this story. Straw Hat Grand Armada 4th Commander Arlong the Saw vs Don Quixote Pirate Senor Pink. I wouldn't sweat it. The clean hit to the nose was all it took for his opponent to start bleeding. Arlong tapped his foot. No, really. Don't worry about it. Fine, are you ready now? Sure, let's continue. Strange, the conversation between Arlong and his opponent, Senor Pink. He was a respectable opponent, though something was off about him. He seemed like a mafia dude, but something was aching on the back of his mind. Arlong could feel it. He's been training with everyone aboard the ship, maybe this is what they call. Senor Pink struck his fighting pose, though a bit hesitant. Something was really bothering him. Alright, what is wrong, man? Arlong dropped his guard and asked his opponent man to man. Nothing, man, just get on with it. I need to be somewhere after I finish with you. First of all, you have no chance in hell of beating me. Second, where is this place you need to go? Arlong stared into Senor Pink's eye, to which the skeptical Don Quixote agent returned the look. They both stared off each other for a good 5 minutes before Senor Pink finally broke the gaze. Alright, fine, my kid is going to be born any minute now. That's why I'm in a hurry, okay? Are you serious? Right now your kid is being born, and you're here carrying out someone else's agenda. Arlong scratched his head throughout this. His ideals have changed throughout the year he's been with the crew. No longer was there an ounce of human-hating gene on him. I owe a lot to Luffy. Look man, I'm going to be straight with you. Arlong leaned against a wall, and pulled out a cucumber from his pants pocket. He then took a bite out of it, and began eating. Senor Pink had a confused face, as to where the hell that cucumber came from. Doflamingo will fall today by the hands of the king. So we can do two things. We fight where I will beat the living hell out of you, and you miss your kid being born, or we can both go to where your kid is, and you can be a dad, walk away from the life of crime. If I walk away he'll kill me, and once he learns about my family, he'll kill them too. Senor Pink lowered his voice. For some odd reason, he was considering Arlong's offer. Again bro, we will not lose. How many times do I have to say it? In that same moment Broly had been keeping Sugar occupied by keeping her confused in her mirror world. Jem had defeated Gladius, but was now being carted off somewhere by two strange people. Bentham and Galdino defeated their opponent in an impressive manner. Robin made quick work of Jola, as her abstract art was no match for a well-trained Echo Robin, especially under the tutelage of the Straw Hats. Fine, alright man, I'll trust you. Let's go see my son. Alright, let's go. Arlong pulled out a mirror, as he ran alongside Senor Pink. Broly's face emerged on the other side. Hey babe, how are you doing? But, this toy kid is annoying. Broly responded with an annoyed look on her face. Okay babe. I just want you to know that I'm going to go with him to his baby. He then winked at her, blew her a kiss, and hung up. Though there was a mistake, for some reason the connection had broken up, and now Broly was blushing feverishly. For all she heard was this okay babe, well I'm going to want you with baby. And Broly was more motivated than ever to end this Dressrosa fiasco, so she can get together with her girls to discuss this major step in their relationship. Straw Hat Grand Armada 3rd Commander Rob Lucci vs Don Quixote Pirate Virgo. Virgo had his arms crossed, standing tall and proud. Lucci also had his arms crossed, though he was analyzing and observing. Get out of my way, pirate. I will arrest you. Virgo was already in full marine attire, ready to return to his pose within the marine ranks. He was in deep undercover duty within the marine ranks, feeding information to the Don Quixote pirates. How else would they have known an area as vast as Dressrosa? Cut the crap. We have reason to know that you are full of shit. Lucci continued to stare down Virgo, who remained in character. So Lucci did the most logical thing in his mind, Sora causing him to disappear in thin air, appearing close to Virgo. Tekai Lucci hardened his body to take the possible exchange with the marine pirate. Shigen Lucci then began to launch a series of strikes all throughout Virgo's body. Ironically, the marine blocked all of his strike in the same style that he was unleashing to him. Shigen Virgo was also a master of Rakishiki, and then something else was about him. Lucci gritted his teeth, as each of his strikes was met in consecutive, accurate manner. He was mocking him. But why would he do that if he was in such a hurry to return to post? Sora Lucci attempted to add more speed with his strike, but yet again, Virgo matched him with his own form of Sora. To think that a washout such as yourself would feel like you can be a match to a real master of Rakishiki. Rob Lucci, former CP9 standout, I know about you. Virgo commented, as he did not fail to block Lucci's strikes. So you pay attention to me then. Lucci decided to heighten it up to a new gear. Bet you don't know about this. Lucci pulled his left arm back, covered it in a resin-like substance, activated both Sora and Shigen, and in one combination strike, Lucci brought his left arm forward at such speed that it seemed to have broken the sound barrier at a sound of a loud crack. His left fist connected with Virgo's abdomen, causing him to be knocked back several steps. Though something was odd, his uniform now has a massive hole on it due to the strike, and yet he did not cough up blood, nor did he double over in pain. His sunglasses fell from his nose, but he was able to catch it on time. He then wiped it with his uniform and returned it into place. Virgo then raised his head and looked directly at the confused Lucci. He then grabbed hold of his uniform, ripping it out of his body, and thus revealing that his entire abdomen was covered in the same thick resin substance that Lucci used to strike him. Though Virgo expected a look of fear from Lucci, what he got was the complete opposite. He was happy. "Whoa. You have got to teach me how you do that." Lucci frantically threw his arms around, and even more impressive was that he managed to maintain his armament for longer than his 5 seconds from a year ago. Virgo began to pull his bamboo from his back holster, but he wouldn't get any time to retrieve his weapon. Lucci suddenly appeared beside Virgo, taking the bamboo from his hands. "Cool weapon." He looked it over, and threw it over his head. Virgo looked at him in a confused manner. "Oh, you didn't think that was my actual speed, did you?" The man who picked everyone's brain was finally able to apply his training. And he was enjoying himself. It seems like Lucci had been holding back. Soar Shigen. Fine then. Virgo attempted to activate his own 6 powers, though it was for naught, as Lucci finally went full power, using his infused fist to now hit Virgo, despite the demon bamboo's attempt to match the strikes. Earlier it was not a problem, but now, Virgo was not able to keep up. "What the fuck are you?" "I'm a straw hat." Lucci delivered his finishing blow, connecting with the guts of Virgo. Despite the armor, Lucci's armament-infused fist was stronger. Virgo doubled over, and fell on both knees, then fell flat on his face. Alright, that wasn't so bad. Strowat Grand Armada 5th Commander Soul Prince Brook vs Don Quixote Pirate Lauji. Brook revealed his blade, then in a blink of an eye, he was standing behind Lauji. Not a second was wasted, as Lauji fell forward, his body emitting a frozen breeze. Brook then returned his blade inside his cane, to where his spirit came into full effect, as Lauji's soul was cut from his body. In the time with Luffy, Brook has learned to harness his devil fruit, and use it to his advantage. He could now freeze his surroundings with his chilling spirit. And he could also cut people's souls out of their body, and he could also choose to return it to them. He was Brook of the Strowat Grand Armada. No longer will he be pushed around for his friends, and for his own pride. Strowat Grand Armada Pirate Queen Hancock vs Don Quixote Pirate Monet. Hancock found herself embracing her opponent who had been crying. How did they get to this point? Well, they were fighting like normal, and the snow user would rely on her Loja Devil Fruit, and Hancock could use her superior close combat capabilities to gain the upper hand. Monet would then accept that she can't win, so she began to appeal to Hancock through sympathy. She began crying on how she felt like nothing, and she was just following orders, and jumped at a chance to embrace the Pirate Queen. Though there was something off about this, it seems very familiar, and sure enough, Monet pulled a gun on her. Funny enough, Hancock saw it coming. Who would have thought Miss Doublefinger would teach her something about trusting others? Not today. Hancock said menacingly, as he held the pistol to her hand, and turned it into stone. She emphasizes her dominance by crushing the pistol into dust. Monet, well, she finally learned her place, finally understanding that she would not get out of this fight alive. Fine, you win. Monet held both hands in the air, finally understanding her defeat. She took several steps back, continuing to hold her hands up, and eventually fell on her butt. She sat on the ground, and awaited her fate. Go on then, end me. Hancock just stared at her intently, trying to do the thing that Luffy does to people, to read them, and see what they are about. She used to be a killer first, find out information later. But she has grown out of her empress role, and is now Luffy's queen. And to be his queen, she would need to be merciful. So Hancock opened her mouth then closed it again, frustration filling her mind. She then threw a roundhouse kick, effectively knocking out Monet. Lucky for her, it wasn't a killing blow. But forget it, she'll figure it out later. She then used her mirror to call everyone. Anyone available yet? She called. Strowat Grand Armada 6 Commander Crocodile vs Don Quixote Pirate Trouble. Stop it, stop it. The mucus user was getting annoyed, largely because Crocodile kept missing his sand with his body. And sand sticks really well to mucus. That's what Snot knows. Once I kill you, I'm going to kill the damn flamingo brain. Then while I'm at it, I'll kill Mugiwara too if he's not paying attention. You're Mugiwara's puppy dog now, Crocy. You could have been Doffy's partner, but instead you choose to ally yourself with a squirt who's not even worth Doffy's little toe. Shut the fuck up, Trouble. Crocodile held the golden hook of his left hand over the neck of the mucus user. I only truly serve myself, you understand. Fine, Crocy. I get it. Listen, I'll work for you instead. Though Trouble was saying one thing, his loyalty was unwavering towards Doflamingo. Trouble then fell on all fours, and crawled towards Crocodile's feet, begging him to be spared. I'll shoot you straight to the top, I swear it. Is that right? Trouble thought he had him hooked, though truthfully, Crocodile could care less. He brought his right foot back, and kicked Trouble straight through his guts. Layers of snot clinged onto the leg of Crocodile, as soon as his kick sent Trouble flying. Fuck. He molded his legs into sand to allow the snot to slide off of his legs. Kind of like a snake shedding his skin, Crocodile shedding its skin. Weird thought. Alright, that's it, Crocy, I'll kill you. though his threat were empty, as Crocodile turned into sand and manifested himself behind Trouble, chopping him on the neck. The snot user fell on his face, knocked out. I should kill you, I should, but you rotting in impaled down will be just as satisfying. With a final smirk, Crocodile slowly turned into sand and floated away in the air. And Trouble, well, he was out, unable to protect his dear Luffy. Straw Hat Grand Armada 2nd Commander Dracula Hawkeye Mihawk vs Don Quixote Pirate Pika. Picure. You big sword buffoon. Pika was an excellent fighter. His ability allowed him to turn himself, or anything he touches, into stone. Mihawk, despite his precision, would get in contact with Pika, but he would simply turn himself into a stone to avoid the cut. Pika would travel along his ability, causing Mihawk to hit nothing but stone. Laugh as you may, but the end of this battle has been predetermined. Mihawk brought his black blade close to him and closed his eyes. Pika looked at his opponent in confusion, reverting to his normal form, following what his opponent was doing, which was nothing. Foolish swordsman, you think you're some big player just because you got offered a position with the warlord. Luffy is a current warlord, and guess what, your precious Captain Yujiwara will die today, I guarantee it. With one fell swoop, Mihawk opened his eyes and went through Pika. Black Blade Mountain Cutter. In slow motion, one would see Mihawk dash forward, covering the distance between them. Not a second was wasted, as his movements were fluid. Mihawk brought his blade from Pika's right waist all the way through his left shoulder, providing a massive deep cut through the flag user. In real time, it seemed that Mihawk disappeared in less time than it would take to blink an eye. The stone user did not even have time to react. How there was a lot of that within the opponents of the Strowats. They all doubted their capabilities, and once their ass got handed to them, they questioned their loss. Pika was no exception to this. My captain has said that you would be annoying. I thought it would be through battle, but alas, it was your voice. Mihawk then rubbed his temple, as Pika fell on both knees. Then he returned his black blade on his back, as Pika fell flat on his face. Strowat Grand Armada 1st Commander Dogtooth Katakuri vs Don Quixote Pirate Diamante. Is Diamante correct? He's asking. My captain sends his regards. Katakuri brought out his hands, and his trident manifested from thin air. He then took a jab straight through the neck of Diamante, but the flag user was ready. He turned himself into a flag just in time to follow the spike of the trident user. Each strike was met with the perfect movement of his flag body, avoiding instant death. Though Katakuri wasn't one to become frustrated, he remained focused and adamant in striking down his foe. Full. Stab, as you may, but none will hit me. Even in flag form, Diamante pulled out a sword in his shirt pocket and began to exchange strikes with the Machi user. He would harden his blade when meeting Katakuri's trident, showing a mastery in controlling his technique. But what Diamante failed to realize was that the match was already over as soon as he was marked. Lucci, Arlong, Brook and Mihawk wanted a piece of Diamante, as the captain specifically said to kill this one. But Katakuri overruled everyone's request and took on himself the perks of being first commander. Diamante carelessly flicked along the strikes of Katakuri as a flag, but suddenly, Katakuri scraped his cheeks. The Machi user drew blood. It must have been a fluke, but then another cut in his upper arm, then another in his legs, and the final strike that scared Diamante was a precise strike aimed for his heart. Luckily, he was able to block with his sword. It was as if Katakuri was seeing what he would do before he did it. What sorcery is this? Diamante continued to try and dodge, but he was getting cut no matter what he did. My captain has taught me this ability. Katakuri's Machi barrage completely caught Diamante in a corner. Each fist-shaped Machi punch met with different parts of Diamante's body, and despite his flag form, they were all finally connecting. To see into the future. Blood escaped from the mouth of Diamante's, he could not keep up any longer. Katakuri just kept on pounding, and pounding with his Machi fist. His body failed to form into a flag to alleviate the impact, therefore he was receiving everything in full power. Though the nail to his coffin was when the punches ended, though something pierced him, something wasn't right. Diamante coughed up more blood, as he was pinned against a wall, hundreds of yards away from his original position. He slowly looked down, and found a trident was the object that pierced him. To literally drive his point, Katakuri covered the distance, grabbing the handle of the trident, and burying it deeper into Diamante. Katakuri got close to Diamante's ears, and whispered, "Captain sends his regards." To which Diamante responded with a long breath, exhaling for the final time. Strowat Grand Armada King Yujiwara Monkey D. Luffy vs Don Quixote Pirate Captain Don Quixote Joker da Flamingo. It's funny how it has been 2 years since he went back in time. And yet, the most serious he got was throwing a Gear 3rd pistol right through Crocodile. He laughed at himself to the confusion of the fallen celestial dragon. Mingo, are you ready to die? Luffy was suddenly covered by clouds, as his muscles began to inflate. I will never die. Da Flamingo responded, as he flicked his fingers. String cutter. The string traveled through the air nearly undetected, hardening at impact with Luffy, in order to cut him. At least that was the plan, but the string simply went limp before it even reached Luffy. It was as if he had a force field around him, rejecting anything that came close. The cloud that covered Luffy in his transformation finally cleared, revealing Luffy in his full glory. Gear 4th. Bound man. Luffy had his right palm forward, and his right arm back. He bounced on both legs, as he waited for Doflamingo to make a move. For the first time, someone finally saw his fourth gear in this timeline. Doflamingo unleashed 2 string clones to charge at Luffy, though it only took 2 palm strikes to destroy the string clones. He has now also mastered the art of projecting through his body without needing contact. He was absolutely a monster. This time, Luffy would not let Doflamingo get an ounce of offense any longer. He pushed through his defense, and bombarded him with his King Kong Gatling. The string user was 10 years younger than in his timeline, and it was noticeably weaker. And Luffy would just use the same moves he did to defeat the guy, adding his new mastery of Ryu. So Luffy bombarded him with really heavy punches, not allowing him to breathe. Not even a second. And an opening finally presented itself, to where he could ultimately end the man known as Doflamingo. He pulled his palms back, aiming for the chest of the warlord, connecting. Luffy made sure to hit his heart with his final strike. All the pain that Doflamingo inflicted throughout the world, what he was going to inflict to this world, the slave trading, espionage, trickery, weapon trading, all of his underworld work can't happen. His fist connected with the chest of Doflamingo, and a loud crack indicated that his chest plate was destroyed, and the sharp shards of his chest plate should theoretically pierce his heart. Blood escaped the lips of the string user, as he fell backwards. It was sort of like slow motion. Memories of his exploits went through his mind before finally falling flat on his back, spread eagle style. He was now choking on his own blood, as Mugiwara watched him. "Why are you watching me, fucker? I'll kill you Doflamingo," despite his influence, power, and manipulation, fell to the hands of Mugiwara that day. Luffy reverted back to his normal form. The taxation on his body for using Gear 4 has been reduced to nearly no damage on his body. The year-long training with his crew really did help in allowing him to manage his abilities. Mingo. I hope you are hunted in the afterlife by your sins. Luffy then stood there, overlooking the unmoving body of the former celestial dragon. He had to be sure that he would no longer torment the world. How long was it that he just looked at his unmoving form? Though finally, after some time, Luffy snapped out of his hate-infused stare down at the arrival of 3 people. One of which was Gem, who passed out from exhaustion. Another was a taller man with a cigarette over his mouth. He took out the cigarette, threw it on the ground, and twisted his cigarette, and took a deep breath. He then exhaled, and looked at the form of the fallen warlord. "You're the real deal after all, Doffy. It's unfortunate it had to end this way." Luffy recognized the smaller of the pair. He was probably the same age as Ace, maybe a tad bit older. He held a familiar blade over his shoulder, striking his ever-so-familiar posture. "Mugiwara, you finally showed up." And he exchanged handshakes with the smaller man. This time, his all-power vision came through. He must need to see what happened. Luffy fell on his feet, finding himself on an open field, and it was snowing. An enraged yet poised Doflamingo stood over his brother, a pistol on hand. Not a word was uttered. Doflamingo released the bullet from his pistol, showing little to no mercy. A small yell could be heard within the confine of the treasure chest behind the fallen warrior, though no noise escaped his range. It was his final gift to his friend, his final way to say goodbye. In a similar manner that Luffy observed Doflamingo to make sure he died, the warlord did the same this time. As it was clear that the fallen marine would not survive, Doflamingo finally began to walk away, slowly and painfully. No matter what power he had, or how much money he pocketed, he just had to kill his brother due to his betrayal, and with that thought, Doflamingo left, accepting that his brother was a traitor, and he never had a brother. As the snow continued to fall, the little man inside the treasure chest finally made his way out. Strange how this little man had no tears over his eyes, as he looked down on his fallen comrade. He then kicked him not once, but twice, to which the second kick was caught by the fallen man. "About time. That hurt," stated the man on the snow-covered ground. He then sat up, and dusted the snow off of his clothes. "I didn't think you had it in you." "What do you mean?" "I did that perfectly." "Alright, fine, you did that well." The taller man mixed the hair of the smaller boy. "Your timing with the op no me," allowed the switch of the bullet, and the crushed tomatoes to take place. The taller man then went to dig for something inside the treasure box, finally finding a bullet. He looked over it, and chuckled to himself. "Imagine this tiny thing was going to kill me today. Well, whoever this Mugiwara guy is, we have to thank him. He saved our lives today. And you didn't want to believe the letter he sent you." "Shut up, Corazon. You didn't believe his letter at first either, but he was very knowledgeable on when and where it would go down. Time traveler, you think? Or just really trained in observation? You know there are people who are so well trained in observation that they can see in the future. Now there's no way, I'm telling you, time traveler." And the duo walked away from the scene, disappearing from Dressrosa. For within the letter, another part indicated that he would find them, that is Mugiwara will in due time. And that ended the vision. Finally Luffy returned to modern time, mere seconds from his exchange with the 2 people before him. Dressrosa Castle. "So what are we going to do with them?" Mihawk had his arms closed. It had been a day since the entire happening of Dressrosa. The citizens were made aware of King Riku's innocence with the assistance of the Tontada tribe. Monkey D. Luffy and the Straw Hat Grand Armada have once again become the savior of a nation. In the present, Mihawk had his arms crossed, leaning against a pillar within King Riku's castle. Hancock sat on a chair with her left hand resting against her chin. On the other side of the room were Katakuri, wearing his scarf to intimidate the captives within the room. And to complete the most fearsome members of the Straw Hat Grand Armada, Crocodile was phasing around the prisoners, attempting to intimidate them. In the middle of the room were the members of the Dunquixa family who survived the exchange, the ones that the crew deemed could be converted. Sugar sat beside her sister, Monet. Being devil fruit users, they were bound by sea prison cuffs. Joining the sisters were Match 5, Gladius, and Baby 5, who had been in the care of the Dunquixa family since she was a little girl. Arlong has yet to return after leaving the premise with Senor Pink, but he had been checking in regularly with the crew to let them know what he had been up to. If it's any consultation, I never really liked working for Doffy. I just did cause he would have killed me and taken my fruit iron. Match 5, exclaimed Monet, one of the more loyal members of Doffy. What? It's true he only cared about us cause we were useful in. I hate to admit it, but think about it, if none of us had useful devil fruits, you think he would have saved us? Gladius was the next person to chime in, the man who lost to a booger. I mean Sugar with her very convenient toy-making ability that turned King Riku's soldiers into toys, and everyone forgot them in. Then Monet, you have a very powerful Loja-type devil fruit, Snow Iron. Should I continue Iron? Match 5 did not have to continue, as his cuffs fell from their binding. Crocodile seemed to like the guy enough to set him free. Alright then Muscle Brain, you get to join under me. Crocodile patted him in the back, sending him to Crocodile's area, where he would join, and wait for the meeting to conclude. I don't want any crew members. Mihawk remained in his pillar, unmoving. He was never one to take subordinates. Alright, if I'm joining, I'll be in the Big Meanies division. Baby 5 proclaimed. Though Mihawk had a perfect retort for her. If you try, I know the perfect place to ship you off to. It's a little place in the East Blue, where a certain blonde-haired idiot will bore you to death. I don't care. I want to be in the Big Meanies crew. Baby 5 pouted, to which Hancock chuckled. To annoy Mihawk even further, Hancock released Baby 5 from her bindings, to which she began to climb up on Mihawk and pull on his face. The youngster, she was quite the bundle of energy. Me too. Sugar was also let out of her cuffs to join Baby 5 in annoying Mihawk. The two girls were pushing their luck, and yet Mihawk did not retaliate. It was a funny sight to see, unexpected and hilarious. Monet, with your strength, I wish for your assistance in the First Division. Katakuri chimed in on possibly the most powerful of their recruits. I believe that the king will like you, as well. Emphasis on the like, Hancock inserted her own view in terms of how Luffy wanted a harem, and a king deserves a loyal following. While Katakuri and Hancock were having a non-verbal exchange for the services of the snow user, Crocodile also freed Gladius. You're in my crew now, Bomb Man. But you lost the gem, you idiot. I'm gonna have to beat you into shape. Yes, sir, replied Gladius, as he joined Match 5. The two shared a powerful high five in being given a second chance to right their wrongs. Monet had been looking back and forth between Katakuri and Hancock. She could not believe that people were arguing for her. It made her feel wanted more so than Doffy ever made her feel. I would like to join the First Division, but I would not be opposed to joining the king during the evening if he wants me. Monet also spoke up for herself, to which Katakuri and Hancock gave her a look, but they respected her decision. Her cuffs were removed, and finally the Straw Hats each obtained members for their crew. Well, all but Mihawk, who was dead set on shipping the kids to Zeph. Red legoed them after saving him on the death rock after all. So it was complete. The newest addition to the Straw Hats were, as followed. Monet joins the Straw Hat Grand Armada First Division. Sugar and Baby 5 were going to be brought to Zeph by Dracule Mihawk, although they insisted they would like to join his division. Last, but not least, Crocodile managed to take both Match 5 and Gladius under his division. Though there was someone missing, we were Virgo and Senor Pink. Unknown Town Delivery Room. Arlong had been waiting outside the delivery room, phasing back and forth in anticipation. Senor Pink had been in the delivery room for half a day now, and there's no indication it would end anytime soon. Suddenly Senor Pink finally made his way outside of the room with a shocked look on his face. Arlong began to fear for the worst. The expression on the man's face was a mix of shock and dread. So how was it? Arlong spoke carefully, trying not to trigger the man. Blood everywhere, there was blood everywhere, began the confused warrior, though his expression changed instantly to a joyous expression. But my Russian is doing well, and also we have a boy, a little one named Gimlet. Arlong blew a sigh of relief. The new father gave his new friend a hug. Thank you for convincing me to be here for my wife and newborn baby. Of course man, you're dumb for fighting for Doflamingo instead of being here for your family. Yeah, I know. Well anyways, I guess it's time to return to Dressrosa. Just beat me up good to make it seem like I put up a fight. But Arlong hit Senor Pink on the back of his head. How many times do I have to tell you that there was no way we would lose, and I meant it. The Straw Hats have won, and Doflamingo is dead. To this Senor Pink dropped the cloth which she had been holding. Aren't you glad that wasn't you, kid? No way, he's really dead. Yeah man, I told you. Plus we implemented some of your crew members into our own division. Who? Matchwise, Gladius, Sugar, Baby 5, Monet, and some other guy I forgot his name. No way you guys are super strong. I thought Luffy was invisible. Senor Pink proclaimed, revealing a blade. I wish to signify my undying fealty to you by blood. He was about to cut his hands open to signify his loyalty, though Arlong stopped him. Listen men, I like you, but I need you to take care of your family instead. I can't imagine what it would do to them if little Gimlet's father is not with him. Senor Pink put away his knife and understood Arlong's request. Thank you again, you are amazing Arlong. Senor Pink proceeded to cut his hands anyway. It may not be now, but one day when you need me, I will aid you and the Straw Hats boss Arlong. At first he was a bit irritated, but he warmed up to his actions. He smiled at the statement. I got to go back to my people. Arlong gave Senor Pink a thumbs up and proceeded to make his way outside. But I'm counting on Senor Pink. Goodbye boss. Senor Pink took a bow and returned to his wife's side. Russia weakly gave him a smile. We still have to talk about your real life Mr. Banker, but he is really a pirate. Senor Pink flinched at the threat of his wife, though she gave him a kiss on the cheeks. But another time, for now let us take care of our Gimlet. She proceeded to hand over the baby to Senor Pink. He carefully took the little baby and began to rock him left and right. Little Gimlet gave him a toddler's precious smile, causing a tear to fall from his eyes. I love you so much Russia, and you my little Gimlet. Meanwhile Arlong had been walking back to Dressrosa when a thought finally popped into his head. Oh yeah. I remember the last guy now. That guy Lychee beat up Virgil. No, was it Vabana? Nope, that wasn't it, it was Dressrosa Plaza. The 3rd Division commander was in charge of civil assistance. He had happily taken on the job and put his crew to work. Galdino was more than happy to help, while the newest recruit wasn't so nice at the first meeting. The 4th Division members, Burley and Gem, along with 5th Division Commander Brooke and member Bentham, were also assigned to the project. Robin, from the King's Harem, was also involved in the restoration project. The Tontada tribe were also in attendance, becoming crowd favorites after their efforts the previous day. Lychee was on a brief water break when his newest recruit joined him, drinking some water for himself. Though funny enough, the man had a glass of water stuck on the bottom left corner of his face. Why am I free to walk around? The newest recruit asked. Cause even if you try anything, I'll just beat the shit out of you again. It was true, Lychee was not lying. Fair enough, but I'm a Marine officer, a traitor within their forces. They are going to come after my head. Sure they are, but I was the best in the business. As of last year, there was no one better than me, so you'll be okay. You got the entire armada behind you now. I am loyal to Luffy, who's dead, right? Then the man began to return to his duties within the civilian assistance project. He had been assigned on debris cleanup. Yo Virgo, keep your head up, you're straw wet now. To this Virgo began to walk away, but his frown was replaced with a grin. That he was. Virgo passed over Brooke and chuckled as he saw the skeleton commander performing an entertainment show for the little ones. He also had Bentham perform multiple roles with his devil fruit ability to create the perfect show. Brooke had been performing as the toy reaper who takes toys from children who do not clean after themselves. He was popular with the kids. They especially liked it when Brooke monologues as a spirit. Bully had been giving snacks and drinks to the children as the adults were busy restoring their town. She was assisted by Robin, who was listening to her concerns. I mean, I want children, but not right now. We are both in danger all the time, and a child would endanger us, right? Burley had been repeating what Arlong said the other day about having children. If you truly love each other, and you both decide to have children now, then go for it. No, I will tell him not yet, it is not the time. Her worries then turned into a knowing grin. So, you are one of Captain's queens. How's that? Robin replayed the kiss that they shared months ago, and she had been actively avoiding any chance that they would be alone. Luffy made her heart flutter, though she did not know what to do with her emotions. She knows what he would want from her in terms of being in bed, but she was not sure she was ready for that. Meanwhile, Hancock would always tell her about what things they were doing, and it would always make her hot all over. Earth to Robin, hello. Bully noticed the deep blushes of Robin, to which she took the opportunity to tease her further. Thinking about it, huh? She began to nudge Robin, knowingly causing her to feel even more embarrassed. Tonight. I will do it with him tonight. She announced to everyone, and it means everyone within the plaza heard. She turned beet red in color, and she began to run to bury her head under some rocks or something. Dressrosa throne room. I can't express enough what you've done for us. Mugiwara, anything you wish, I can make happen if it is within my power. King Riku was sitting on his throne. Beside him were Princess Viola, Princess Scarlet, baby Elizabeth in her lap, and Kairos. The citizens were just going to have to learn to accept that Princess Scarlet married Kairos into the royal family, though that was an issue for another time. For now they had a guess, Mugiwara. I am humbled. I only truly wish for 4 things. Name it, Mugiwara. Anything. 1. Dressrosa's loyalty under my flag. 2. For the members of the Dunquixia pirates who survived, send them off to Impel Down. 3rd, there is one member of the Dunquixia family I want you to consider to join your ranks, Pika. He may be annoying, but he will be useful to you, and your land is made mostly of stone blocks. Each of his requests was met with an approving nod of King Riku's head. Lastly, one of my men will be present as your entourage for next year's Leavely. I do not protest any of your requests, Mugiwara. By tomorrow the Marines will be called in to place members of the Donquixo pirates in Impel Down. And, as far as Pika, I will have Kairos propose a job for him within my army. Then your last request, sure, who do you have in mind? And to this Luffy smiled. Some time passed, as the group continued to exchange pleasantries. And it was time to excuse himself. I enjoyed my time with you all, but I will need to excuse myself. I have to return to my crew. I do have one request for you. To this Luffy looked at the king with curiosity. To solidify the alliance, I ask that you take my daughter. I understand that you have a polygamic relationship. Princess Viola got up and stared Luffy directly in his eyes. I am flattered, my king, but I am a firm believer in choice. I do not want to force a young princess into a relationship which she does not want. I'm sorry to interrupt Mugiwara-san, but I'm far from not wanting to. Her voice was laced in mystery, one in which he knew he would learn of later. For once, Luffy was at a loss for words. In Alabasta, it was an easy no since Princess Vivi was a little girl, though he seemed to have locked himself in a contract with her once she came of age. But here in Dressrosa, Princess Viola was the same age as him. Princess Viola approached him, slowly. She then got close to his face, just one more motion, and she would kiss him. Though instead of doing so, she whispered seductively in his ears. I am yours. To this he shuddered, her words were laced in so much meaning that he could not wait to interpret. It is settled then. King Riku along with Princess Scarlet and Kairos smiled at the new relationship that developed within the throne room that day. Princess Viola continued to look into his eyes, and he couldn't help but also stared back into hers. To say it was going to be interesting was an understatement. To say that the day was eventful would be an understatement. The defeat of the Donquixo family has created a massive hole in the underground world. Despite being a massive douchebag, Doflamingo is a very influential figure in the work. The hole which he created was going to be a bloodbath amongst the underground players, Kaido, and even Guild Tesoro. Luffy rested on his bed, waiting for Hancock to join him, though she insisted on staying out with the girls, as she wanted to spend time with Burly and Robin. His commanders and their subordinates were also busy doing their own things. Crocodile had decided to seat his new members, Matchvies and Gladius, and get to know them better. Listen here weaklings, I'm going to be your leader from here on out. You can call me Mr. Zero. Then Brook and Bentham were planning their show for the next day, while Laboon was going to be a big part of it. Lucci had been pushing Bentham and Virgo to their limits by having them spar. Arlong would join them along with Gem. Katakuri and Mihawk were sharing a drink together, discussing the possible next move of the future king of pirates. While Monet, Sugar, and Baby 5 were sent off to their rooms to rest, it had been a long day. Eventually we'll have to face the Yonkos and the world government to get our captain to the promised land. Katakuri began to drink his barrel of beer, chugging it down. Sure, but we will be ready. Mihawk had a glass of wine, and he was twirling it. The darkness of the night was perfect for giving off the mood of the calm before the storm. There's no way that they would rest in Dressrosa for a long time. The captain was planning something, and he knew it. Elsewhere, Hancock was indeed hanging out with the girl, but someone was noticeably missing. She said she'll do it, huh? Burly was by Hancock, as they were both sharing stories of their life. Yeah, I'm so glad Robin finally found the courage. She is his queen. Hancock took a bite off of an apple. Last time she saw Luffy was after the meeting with the royalties of Dressrosa, and looks like someone will be joining them. Speaking of the new member. Hi, I was told you would both be here. Princess Viola joined the duo. Princess. Burly got up and took a bow. Oh please none of that, I am simply Viola from here on out. I am no longer a princess, but a member of this pirate crew. Hello Viola, I am Hancock. Hello, so what should I expect with joining you all? As Viola was getting comfortable with the other ladies of the crew, one particular woman was debating with herself, standing outside the door of the Strowak captain. She wore a robe over her attire, just the thought of what she was wearing or the lack thereof, made her blush furiously. Though she made a commitment. She was going to do it today. So she brought her hands up to his door, bringing up the courage to knock. And she brought her hands forward, and began to knock once twice, then his voice could be heard on the other side. The very next day, Luffy had summoned the entire Grand Armada. They have been growing in numbers, and are now becoming an absolute force to be reckoned with. From the top there was Grand Armada Commander Monkey D. Mugiwara Luffy, the man who notably escaped from Toto Land alive, headlined the destruction of CP9 Division, defeated Vice Admiral Borsellino, Warlord Crocodile and Warlord Doflamingo. His head was currently worth 1 billion bears. 1st Division Commander Dogtooth Katakuri remained an undeniable force to be reckoned with. His division currently consists of the Snow Logia user, Monet. He was worth a dangerous 600 million bears. 2nd Division Commander Dracula Hawkeye Mihawk was supposed to become a warlord, though instead of accepting the offer, he joined Luffy to become the world's greatest swordsman. He takes no members in his division. And he is worth 300 million beary. 3rd Division Commander Rob Lucci brings an interesting dynamic for the crew, as his members including himself, are each sharply dressed at all times. Within his division were Galdino and Virgo. Interestingly enough, he had yet to obtain his first bounty, despite being with the Strowats for a year, and killing CP9 Commander Spandine. 4th Division Commander Arlong the Saw has become one of the most powerful members of the crew. With the newfound focus and determination, along with members Gem and Lover Brûlé, he has earned a quiet yet respectable bounty of 100 million Beery. 5th Division Commander Soul Prince Brook developed a new level of mastery with his fruit. Once thought to be a curse, has become a very powerful weapon in the hands of the skeleton musician. In his command were Bentham and Laboon. His bounty remained the same, as it was several decades ago, 33 million Beery. 6th Division Commander Mr. Sir Crocodile. Interestingly enough, he chose to keep his codename, giving them out to members in his division. His initial goal was to assassinate Luffy when he least expected it, but being with the crew for months, he probably warmed up to the idea of staying with the crew, permanently. Mr. Zero has recruited Mr. 1 Matchvies and Mr. 2 Gladius. He needed to obtain partners for them. Ever since joining the Strowats, his title as Warlord was stripped, and his bounty was unfrozen, 81 million Beery. 2 men were invited for the event, one Dunquixote Corazon, and the other Trafalgar Deepwater Law. One of which was a Marine, but Luffy will try to convince him otherwise, the other was a friend. 4 women occupied seats behind Luffy that were higher than the Armada commanders. Robin, 80 million Beery, sat on the far right side. Hancock, also 80 million Beery, but it was recently unfrozen due to her allegiance, sat in the between. Next to her was Viola, no bounty, as she is still known, as the Princess of Dressrosa, sat on her left, and last was Monet, the woman who was also a member of the 1st Division, but also wasn't opposed to becoming one of Luffy's queens. As the 4 current queens of the Grand Fleet, they were present for the meeting. Now the leaders of the armadas were gathered in the assembly hall, which King Riku kindly provided for the Strowats to use. Luffy sat at the head of the table with a list of things he wanted to cover. Hello everyone. Luffy began, looking around the group. I have gathered everyone today for a very important action that needs to occur in the coming year. As you may have all noticed, our crew is getting larger, and we will all need our own ships. How do we do that, Captain? Well, there's a place where shipbuilding is their specialty, Water 7. Luffy declared, to which everyone seemed to agree. Now, this is our final destination for this year in order to get ships of your own. But I need some things handled. Anyone have anything they need to take care of? Any person useful for our armada? The first to speak was Crocodile, who has become a valuable member of the Grand Armada, though he does insist that when Luffy drops his guard, he is as good as dead. Yujiwara, there's an interesting guide that I want to locate. I think he will be useful. Crocodile shows some respect to Captain. Katakuri slammed his fist on the desk, to which the sand user continued to flip him off. Luffy raised his hands to defuse the situation. It's fine, he knows I'll beat him up anyways, continued Crocodile. Luffy directed the sand user to continue, while Katakuri continued to shoot dagger at him. In your dreams, Captain Mugiwara, fuck. Alright, anyway, I met the guy a long time ago. He had a very interesting fruit ability that allowed him to disassemble and reassemble inanimate objects to his whim. I think he'd be useful as a mechanical specialist. Everyone chuckled when he slipped into calling Luffy Captain. He insists that he doesn't like them, but he's grown into his role. I know exactly who you are referencing, and there's just no way we can get him out of Impel Down, as we are, and even then, I don't know if he'll work with us. Luffy fought the man in his timeline, and he was a huge problem. As an ally, he would probably be a massive power boost in his already stacked crew, but if an enemy, then he has the power to rival an emperor in a one-on-one battle. Crocodile nodded his head, allowing another to speak. I wish for the children who had decided to force themselves into my division to be delivered to Zeph. He will care for the brats. Mihik was referring to Baby 5, and Sugar, of course. Alright Mihik, but meet us back in Water 7. I will provide you with a log post to Water 7, as well as request a ship for your journey. Mihik nodded in agreement to the plan. Thank you, Captain. Then Luffy continued to look around, not finding another person with any suggestions or requests. If nobody else has any request, this is what I want from everyone. Katakuri and Crocodile, I need money to fund our ships, which will most likely cost us a couple billion. In order to do so, I need you both and your division to locate a man who owns 10% of the world's money. I want him, his crew, and his ship, so find a way to convince them to join. Again, a log post to Water 7 and a ship for your journey. Aye, Captain. Responding to Katakuri, there was animosity between him and Crocodile, but orders were orders. Crocodile nodded in agreement, a smirk on his face. Brook, I need your division to locate 2 giants residing on an island known as Little Garden. They will be valuable allies in our impending war with the emperors. To this, Brook gave a thumbs up in agreement. Arlong, your division needs to travel back to Fishman Island. They have been quiet for some time, and I need to know what is going on. If, and I mean if, the Sun Pirates are free, inquire about their interest in joining the Grand Armada permanently under your division. Aye, Captain, but Brook buddy, can I take Laboon with me? Sure thing, he would love an adventure under the sea. Brook responded. My last mission is for Lucci. Your division specializes in intelligence gathering. Am I right that you still have these skills? We are the best, Captain. Lucci responded. Good, I need you to find the location of a list of people of interest. I will provide the list afterwards, but they are high-profile targets. If a chance arises, subdue, and propose a spot in the Grand Fleet. Luffy then looked around for any questions. Though there was one glaring subject that he needed to address. Law and Corazon will join you. Now, as for me, Hancock, Robin, and Viola, we will head straight for Water 7, so that we can begin the projects for your ships. Katakuri and Crocodile, I need your team there, as soon as possible, so we can pay for all your ships. Everyone else takes your time. Any questions? No one brought a question up. Meeting adjourned. Everyone hung out for a little bit, talking amongst themselves. First it was Monet who went to speak with Mihik. I understand why they need to be taken away. I trust that my sister will be safe. Red Leg is no pushover, she will be alright. Responded Mihik. Good. Then it was Viola who talked with the other members of the Grand Armada, introducing herself. They were overly accepting, which made her feel welcomed. Katakuri and Crocodile put aside their animosity to formulate a plan. They had to locate a floating casino. How hard could it be? Brook knew where he needed to go, as Bentham would know how to get to Little Garden, being a former member of Baroque Works, and all. Luffy went to Lucci to give him the list of people he needs, or wants to invite in his armada. Really? These people are, Captain, I mean they are strong, but they are also dangerous. Yeah, but you are strong enough to deal with them. Measure them, see what they're about, and offer them a spot if they are worthy. Aye, Captain. Lucci went through the list, as Luffy began to talk with his crew members. Beautiful, but deceitful, perfect for his crew of intelligence gathering. Very strong player in the underground world. Why would Captain be interested in this man? He knew this guy from training. He will be an interesting guy to convince. This man was a former member of Roger's Pirate, so he needs to be cautious. His abilities are perfect for infiltration, sort of similar to Broly. He'll definitely be a valuable ally. Fuck, that was a warlord. How was he going to get access to this person? Very strong, yet his allegiance could be anywhere. He will also be a powerful ally. This woman was troubled, but the captain is taking a particular interest in her. It had taken Katakuri and Crocodile a month to locate the floating casino. In order to gain access to the floating paradise, an invitation needed to be sent to them. Luckily, Broly had provided them with access to her mirror world through a mirror located in the main bedroom of the ship. Neither Katakuri nor Crocodile stayed there, as they chose to sleep in other rooms. Within the mirror world, the room contains all the treasure they have gathered throughout their journey, bounty, rewards, etc. So in order to gain passage to Gran Tesoro, they had to start spending large amounts of money on different, local casinos. Finally, after hitting up multiple locations, an invitation was given to Monet, who happened to be betting a large stack. Now that they obtained the invitation, it was time to enter the casino. Everyone ready? Katakuri looked different, still wearing his signature scarf to cover his mouth, but he now wore a dark black suit. Sure thing. Monet wore a long green dress that showed her ample breast. There was a slit on her right leg that revealed the right side of her butt, enough to keep the men interested in what's underneath. I'm always ready. Crocodile was used to wearing formal attire, though he would not let up on the cigar in his mouth. It was a casino, they were allowed to smoke indoors. Mr. 1 Match 5s and MR.2 Gladius wore their own sharp attires. Let's go. The Straw Hat members were given a log post to find their way to the floating casino. It took them a day to arrive, and it was magnificent. Despite their facade, deep down, they were impressed by the fortress. They made their way inside the casino, and found thousands of rich individuals gambling their money away. Thousands of machines, games, and tables. It was a sight to behold. Welcome to Gran Tesoro. My name is Backard. I trust that your journey was uneventful. In the entrance, an elegant and beautiful red-haired lady greeted them. Beside her was a muscular fellow, possibly the head of security. It was, responded Crocodile. Sir Crocodile, we've heard so much about you. And Dogtooth were company. They knew who they were, but did they know where their allegiance lay? We received an invitation to this grand casino. We would like to make money. Monet took center stage, as Crocodile and Katakuri was attracting too much attention. Right, well, come on, and follow me. I will introduce you to the games. So Backard led their group around the main floor of the casino, pointing out some fun machines and table games. Though really, the group was looking for one particular man, a man who made gold with his hands. And that concludes our floor tour. Any questions? When will we meet the owner? It was stated in the invitation that he personally invited us. We'd like to meet our host, stated Monet. Of course, that can be arranged. But for now, do enjoy yourself. Someone will also provide you with the keys to your rooms, as well as a voucher for an all-you-can-eat exquisite meal created by the best chefs of the sea. You wouldn't happen to have donuts, would you? It was his one weakness. Donuts was his love. Katakuri and donuts were synonymous. Only the best, of course, Mr. Dogtooth. Backard responded with a sweet smile. She then took a bow and made her way to greet other guests. The group was non-verbally separated. The group found different areas around the casino and began playing, observing, and learning what they were up against. Hundreds of armed personnel, well trained. Match 5 was playing a slot machine, he was breaking even. He spoke softly to a mirror device that allowed them to communicate. He found many armed men entering a particular back door. Probably their weapon cache. He was caught looking by the big guy from earlier, so he casually returned to his game. No blind spot on the cameras, everything is covered. Gladius was situated at the bar, drinking bourbon. Suddenly, a blue-haired beauty sat beside him. She was a beauty, a sight to behold, and there was plenty of space in the bar, but she chose to sit next to him. The usual for me, please. She called towards the bartender. She then turned her attention to Gladius, who became stiff at her gaze. Hello there, stranger, join me in room 318. The lady winked at him, grabbed her drink, and left the scene, emphasizing each step with a sway. Wow. I'm off radar for a bit. Gladius put his mirror away, and tried to locate the room which she instructed him to go to. Fucking Gladius, damn, Crocodile whispered, as he observed Gladius' break position. He will receive 10 times the usual training menu. Visual of a tiny raccoon-looking thing speaking with the big meathead security. Copy, move in. Monet took a sip of her lemon drink, and began to make her way to the big guy, and the small raccoon guy. Gentlemen, I believe I am lost. They were immediately encompassed by her appearance. She was a beautiful woman after all. Yes ma'am, what can I do for you? Asked the big guy, to which the smaller guy stepped on his foot. Shut up, Dice. What is it you need to miss? Followed up by the smaller guy. I seem to have lost my room key, can you assist me? Monet bent down slightly, revealing more skin than either man could have expected. They both were visually read from her actions, but they led her to the help desk where they personally assisted her in finding her room key. Doing this mission with the Strowats was fun, thought the new member of the Armada. Move, move. As the head of security was occupied, Katakuri and Crocodile moved forward, casually making their way to the door which the armed men were going in and out. Match 5 stayed back to watch the surroundings. As soon as Katakuri went through the door, several armed individuals were shocked and began to fire at him. So he brought forth a machi wall that blocked the incoming bullet. Crocodile was the next to enter, and immediately sent out a sand saber, piercing through the Kevlar armor of the enemy force. I had it, Katakuri said, as he dropped his machi wall. Yeah. And the duo continued forward. They made quick works of the guards, as they were nothing but common thugs. Back with Gladius, he finally found the room which he was invited to. He checked his breath and fixed his suit. He then knocked on the door 3 times. The door opened on its own, which was curious, but he made his way inside. That was a mistake, as the blue-haired beauty appeared from above, curling her legs on his neck and twisting her body a certain way to bring him down on the ground. Before he could retaliate, she already had a knife on his neck. I am Karina, and they call me the Phantom Thief. And you and your merry band of idiots will help me overtake Gran Tesoro and its mountain of riches. Got it. With Crocodile and Katakuri, the 2 commanders were deep into the back operations of the floating casino. Though something was odd, they were still not able to find the man they were looking for. Alright, these losers are not what we came here for. Where is the main man? The duo were ascending the spiral staircase. They had located the main tower. Who would have thought there would be a convenient map with the places of interest? Keep alert. Katakuri stood in front of a giant golden double door. Though before being able to open the door, it swung open for them. The man they were looking for got the jump on them. Hello, Dogtooth. A green-haired man with a pink suit was immediately in front of them. How the hell did this guy get in front of him so quickly? Then the man touched him, and his body immediately converted into gold. Then Sir Crocodile tried to attack the green-haired man with his sand sable, to no avail. He too met his match by turning into gold. In an instant, the first commander and the 6th commander were handedly defeated by one Guild Tesoro. At least that's what would have happened. Luckily, Katakuri had future sight. Jump back. As in his vision, the door immediately swung open, revealing Guild Tesoro. Hello Dogtooth and Sir Crocodile, he said, in the same manner that he did earlier. Though surprised that Katakuri and Crocodile were able to avoid his golden touch. Any contact with him will turn you into gold. Called Katakuri, as he summoned 2 donut machi on his side. Crocodile created a swirl of sand around him, creating an offensive and defensive shell. You're quick, I'll give you that. Now what can I do for you, gentlemen? Bill disintegrated on the golden floor and re-emerged on his bar, pouring himself a drink. Initially he wanted to suspend them in golden encasement, but talking is fine for now. We were given orders to recruit you. Bill directed the both of them to sit down, to which they agreed to, but their guard was still up. Oh? By who? He swirled his drink, and offered them a drink, to which they both declined. They were trying to read the pink-suited man. Captain Mujiwara, the next king of pirates. Declared Katakuri, to which Gil took exceptionally funny. King of pirates, you say? That is laughable. He took a high chair, and placed it in front of the 2 men who were sizing him up. So let me tell you something, you both wreak havoc with my staff, break into my tower, and expect me to consider such an absurd offer. He then got up, and began to walk away. Katakuri and Crocodile shared a look. Suddenly a massive hole emerged from below the two commanders, attempting to sink them through the tower floors. Read the dogtooth. Guild stated in reference to Katakuri's obvious superior observation. The entire tower was covered in gold, so much so that the place was basically his personal playground. Katakuri began to fall into the hole, rapidly descending several stories. First and foremost, he was shocked that he wasn't able to see it. He kicked himself mentally for missing the trap. And now he had to act quickly or he would fall on the bottom floor. His Tumachi donuts followed his descent, so he launched Tumachi fists out of the Machi donut to cling him onto the wall. Luck was on his side that day, as he was able to stop his rapid descent, stopping right before he would hit the ground. He looked up to the several stories in which he fell, his blood boiling. How dare he mock me? No more playing around for the first commander, as it was now time to knock some sense into the golden user. Though strange that Crocodile was not with him. For the sixth commander remained on the top floor, morphing into his sand form to remain afloat. You got to do more than that to get rid of me, asshole. Crocodile had a cocky smirk on his face, as he floated in the air. Guild was amused, though it wasn't really in the sand user's interest to stay in the golden room. Look, Sir Crocodile, I appreciate the offer, but take a hint and get out of here. I am not interested. Guild, in his arrogance, took a seat on his golden couch and continued to drink his very expensive whiskey. See, I was just going here cause I was intrigued. Now you piss me off, so I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Crocodile descended into the floor and immediately unleashed two massive sand tornadoes, both of which quickly made their way to Guild. The gold user simply brought up a golden wall to block the incoming attack. Then he chained it with two massive golden fists emerging from the walls of the room. They were aimed at Crocodile, but he managed to turn his body into sand, phasing the hit through his body. Crocodile reformed on top of the collided golden fist with an annoyed expression on his face. TSK suddenly, Guild appeared from the golden fist and touched the leg of the sand user. In an instant his entire body was swallowed in gold. With his carelessness, disadvantageous position within the golden room, and stubbornness, the 6th Division commander of the Strowat Grand Armada has turned into gold. His golden bust was a sight to behold, powerful and captivating. Guild admired it for a moment before deciding to ultimately destroy it. Goodbye. Though his golden fists never connected with the golden statue of Sir Crocodile. Amachi Wall swallowed his punch before making an impact. Guild jumped back to create some separation, looking over his opponent. Katakuri had returned to settle the score. With Monet. Hey Sugar, how are things with Redleg? Monet had been speaking to a mirror at their daily scheduled time to meet up. Monet had been in contact with her sister just to check up on her and see how she was doing. It's awesome, but I really miss you. Anyway, today Sanji actually cooked me a nice meal. That was nice of him. But the head chef is kicking our butts in training. I miss you too, baby girl. Well, as you are told, I imagine living there is better for you to keep you away from danger. She relayed to her sister. You're right, we've always been in the center of danger. Why start worrying about that now, sis? She had a good point, but Money did not want to take the risk any further. She wanted the best for her sister, and her safety was her top priority. Look, Sugar, we have a good thing with the Strowats. It has only been months since we've joined them, but they are treating us better than Doffy ever did. With him we are safe. As long as you are safe, then I'm good with anything. Plus you are a child, so live like a child along with baby 5, and this Sanji fellow you keep telling me about. Okay sis, I understand. Well, I have to go now. The head chef is very strict about training time. Bye. I love you. I love you too. She responded with a smile before putting away the mirror. Presently, Monet was in a room, occupied by a frozen dice, and Tanaka. She had brought the two of them over to her room, and immediately sent out a wave of powdered snow, enough so that they were immediately frozen in place. A knock on the front door was surprising, but she cautiously made her way to the door. She peeked through the eye hole, and found Gladius on the other side. She opened the door, and looked at the explosion user with confusion. Hey, sorry to barge in like this, but I have someone I need you to meet. Gladius looked around, not finding the blue-haired woman that accompanied him. Interesting how quickly you disposed of them. You must be one of the top-tier commanders within the Strowats. Said blue-haired bombshell was already inside the room, admiring Monet's work on dice, and Tanka. Our only problem now is Baccarat and Guild. We? Excuse me, who the hell are you? Monet was very confused, and Gladius was not helping in terms of explaining. Oh, I'm sorry, I was actually invited by your friend. Karina pointed at Gladius. Force is the correct word really. He said with a slight smile, to which Karina chuckled. Anyway, since he obviously didn't tell you anything, I have come to request your assistance in shutting down this joint. But I'm going to be straight with you, I really just want the wealth buried within Guild's vault. Okay, how do we know we can believe what you are saying? Asked Monet. Because I could have set off the alarm right when your friends entered the back office staff, but I didn't. She pulled out a small red button that is apparently used to set off a ship-wide alarm to notify the staff of an intruder. Karina took a seat beside the frozen dice, and Tanaka, and invited the duo to take the chair in front of her. I'm listening. Monet did take a seat while Gladius continued to stand. Your friends are engaged in a battle with Guild at this moment. Crocodile is solid gold right now while Dogtooth is still active, that's all I know on that end. Meanwhile your buddy on the casino floor is carefully being watched by Backert. What is going to happen now is we will go through the back office through my knowledge of multiple passageways, and shut down the power grid. It is then you can go do whatever while I claim the treasure. Any questions? Both members of the Straw Hat shake their heads. Okay let's. Though Karina never went to shoot off her mouth any further, as she too was turned into a human popsicle. Monet had her arms extended, and shot out snow at a rate so quick it turned Karina into an icicle. All we needed to know is that Katakuri is dealing with guilt. Everything else falls into place. That is true, so what do we do now? Gladius admired the frozen forms of the three people before him. I have to maintain their frozen state, so I need you to get Matchfires, and lure Backert in here. We'll hold her too. Several minutes later, three people looked at the frozen form of the four members of the Grand Tesoro. Good job. Matchfires said. Yeah you did well. Gladius commented. All in the day's work. Monet continued to supply the four frozen figures with a stream of cool snow. This way, they will maintain their cry for state. Suddenly, heavy banging was against their hotel room door, a loud voice booming demanding for the door to open. Monet looked at Matchfires, and Gladius to understand her nonverbal order. Matchfires slammed his hands against his palm, and Gladius cracked his neck. The two 6th Division members made their way outside where they were met with a sea of soldiers along the hallway, and they immediately went to work. Loaded 1-ton punches were sending bodies through walls, exploding bullets were blowing in people's faces. 100, 200, didn't matter, Matchfires, and Gladius were handling them easily. Straw Hat Grand Armada First Commander Dogtooth Katakuri vs Grand Tesoro Owner Gold Emperor Gold Tesoro. Katakuri had returned from his embarrassing descent to the bottom floor. On one arm he held the golden statue of Crocodile, and on another his hands were extended to create the Machi wall. You made a mockery of me, Guild. I shall repay you 1,000-fold, Katakuri declared. He then jumped back, and placed Crocodile's golden statue along the outside of the golden room, where Guild won't have an opportunity to mess with it. Just to make sure, Katakuri encased the statue in a Machi cocoon. Fine then, have it your way Dogtooth. Guild ascended from the ground, lifting himself up in a wave of gold. He was atop his tower of gold, and yet, Katakuri stared at him defiantly. In an instant, the match was underway. Katakuri had amassed 4 donuts that floated around him, each one having the capability of unleashing his hardened Machi-shaped fist. Combine this with coordination of his own limbs, and he had punches being sent out in multiple directions of the gold user. Guild manifested his own wave of golden fist, though his gold was slower at manifesting than Katakuri's Machi. A flurry of punches were sent out by Katakuri, harnessing his captain's signature gum gatling. Guild tried to match him with his own series of punches, but his gold was not quick enough, disintegrating quickly by the rapid rate at which Katakuri was going. Gah! Guild exclaimed, pushing himself. No longer did he have the advantage of surprise. Katakuri's eyes had a bright red gleam about them. He was reading his every move. But how? He got the job on him earlier, how is Dogtooth reading him now? Though the secret was, Katakuri was pissed off to the point that he did not allow himself to make the same mistake twice. He was 1st Division commander of the Straw Hat Grand Armada. No way should he be made a mockery of by fucking Gold Tesoro. The wave of his hardened Machi kept coming at the Gold Emperor. Before even landing on the floor, Katakuri already manifested a Machi hammer to knock him up once more. Guild attempted to gather his gold from all over the room with no luck, as Katakuri was too fast. He was finally allowed to fall on the ground, and he bounced to his feet, though he could fall any minute. He saw it all. An incoming golden whirlpool under him jumped out of the way. The golden spike headed on the back of his head, easily averted by a Machi ball to cap the spike. It comically bounced off the back of his head, as the Machi ball absorbed most of the impact. Guild was getting desperate now. Earlier his calm composure was due to his cockiness, and belief that there was no person that could touch him. Marines have tried, and ultimately left him alone. Dugquixa tried to murder him for stealing the Gor no Mi, and ultimately decided to partner with him. He monopolized the market by amassing 10% of the world's wealth. His influence could rival that of a world noble, and yet here he was on the end of his wits at the hands of Dogtooth. Guild saw his empire fall before his eyes, as a Machi spike headed towards his face. Years of hard work, manipulating the rich people of the world to give him their money. Earning the title of the Gold Emperor, there it was coming his way, a Machi spike. He dropped on both knees accepting his fate. No way was he beating an enraged Dogtooth. Memories of his past circled his thoughts, as the end came near. Hey Stella, I know I haven't been a good person, but I hope you give me a chance once more. I'll meet you soon. And yet, as his eyes closed, there was no pain, no feeling. He slowly opened his eyes, as only his green shades fell from the crest of his nose. The Machi spike stopped directly in front of his forehead, Katakuri standing before him, stopping the spike from reaching between his eyes. What? He should be dead, he already accepted his fate. Captain is really interested in your service. We need ships, and you seem to be the best man to fund our expenses. So once more I offer, join the Strowat Grand Armada, serve under Captain Mugiwara, the future king of pirates. He looked at the palm of his hands, the spike no longer threatening to pierce him. He contemplated his life, his purpose. He survived almost being nearly made a slave, watched the love of his life die, succumbed to his demon which happened to be gambling, and yet he was never satisfied. Would this be the answer, Stella? Send me a sign. Then, as if an angel hand wrote a message from his dearly beloved Stella, a piece of golden coin fell in front of him, dropping from the balcony which had been destroyed due to their battles. The coin which happened to be an honest gold which he obtained in effort to free his Stella. Tears streamed his eyes at the sign. She wanted him to try, and be honest once more therefore. An hour later, it took some time for the staff to be cleared. Bill had arranged his group and the Strowats to meet in the lobby. Their poker table used to be the table for their meeting. Crocodile still looked pissed at being turned into a golden machi cocoon thing. Monet sat while Katakuri, Gladius, and Matchvies remained standing. Across from them were Guild, who had both hands under his chin. Dice, Tanaka, and Backer stood by him while Karina hung to the side, as Guild was made aware of her attempted coup. I have decided to join the Strowat Grand Armada. Guild broke the silence and announced his decision. His group were surprised by his decision, as he was never one to give off the vibe of servitude. You are all free to choose what you will do now. He then got up and took his chair to be placed on the side of the Strowats. The former staff of the Grand Tizor looked at one another, with Dice stepping forward. If you are joining them, then I will on one condition. Someone will need to beat me in arm wrestling, said the muscle man flexing his massive biceps. He was still angry for being frozen solid for a long period of time. This was his way of venting out his anger. I'll take you in. Matchvies stepped up though Crocodile held him back with his golden hook. He didn't say anything, as he stepped forward, meeting the right arm of Dice with his own. The two then stared at one another before Dice exerted all his strength in pushing down Crocodile's arms. Though he would not budge. Just like a switch, Crocodile slammed Dice right through the table, smashing it into pieces, claiming victory. He then walked back to his spot, and continued to smoke his cigar. Dice trembled, as he was finally able to get back up on his feet. I'm in. He gave a weak thumbs up before falling flat on his face. Are you good? Katakuri commented to Crocodile, who nodded his head. He was good now. If Dice is going then I'm in. Despite Tanaka's small stature, he was able to drag Dice into the side of the Strowats. This left Backward and Karina. Thanks for the offer, but I'm good. I like to work for myself. Karina winked, grabbed a sack of treasure, and left the meeting. Bill didn't even bother stopping her. The treasure she ran away with was measly 0.0001% of his entire fortune. Everyone turned their attention to Backward, who was the last person to make her decision. I'll join in spite of myself. I feel an overwhelming luck with your group. Which then brought her forward, crossing the invisible line that separated the Grand Tesoro crew with the Strowats. Set course to Water 7. Our captain is waiting. Katakuri stated simply, to which Tesoro complied. All aboard to Water 7. Water 7. A month had passed of the Grand Tesoro hauling its massive structure all the way to Water 7. In the time that they spent together, the Strowats and the Grand Tesoro crew bonded exponentially. Crocodile had settled his grudge with Guild by sparring with him and beating the living shit out of him, and no Guild was not holding back. Monet and Backer shared tales of their life having a difficult upbringing. Turns out they both had to use their body as a means to feed themselves. Backer took interest in Sugar, as she joined Monet in their daily calls with one another. Sugar immediately took a liking to her, and wants to meet her in the future. Matchvies and Dice have become workout buddies, with Tanaka becoming their personal trainer. His duties were to research their workout, and to push them to their limits. Dice has improved so much that he could slightly push Matchvies in his one-ton state. Katakuri and girls spend their time in the ship's control center, where they exchange stories of their life and journey. Bill took real interest in this Mugiwara fellow. He respected Katakuri for what he could do. He was Dogtooth, former commander of Yonko Big Mom. How come he was writing with this Mugiwara guy? How influential was this guy? Though through their conversation, Katakuri had come to a conclusion that the Grand Tesoro was not a ship they could bring on their journey. It was too bulky. So Katakuri suggested a smaller, more practical ship for girls, while they broke down the Grand Tesoro for parts. Bill reluctantly agreed, as this was his ship, but it was time to move forward. Their arrival in Water 7 was lively, as a group of thousands of shipwrights began to dissect the Grand Tesoro as soon as it docked. Bill could only watch, as the memory of his syndicate life was literally being ripped apart. This was for the better. He grabbed the golden coin which had swayed him to turn over a new leaf, and began to flip it in the air. Stella would want him to be a better man. So this was his final gift to her, a better person. The crew made their way through Water 7, as many busy shipwrights were running around. They were busy with work. Captain must have got them all working. Katakuri commented, as the group continued to make their way to the center of the island. Walking through the streets, the massive office building stood out. It was big enough to house a party for hundreds of people per floor. Once they arrived, they accessed an elevator to the top floor of the main office building. Before reaching the top floor, the rest of the party were told they had to be left at the lobby, with only Katakuri, Crocodile, Monet, and Child allowed to go through to the top floor. Before going to the top floor, Crocodile dismissed his agents, while Guild had his people go with him. Tanaka, Dice, Matchflies, Gladius, and Baccarat made their way back down, to explore this new world. Each was given a den for communication. They made their way up, and, as the elevator door opened, it revealed a large yellowfish man sitting behind a massive wooden desk. In front of him was a man wearing a straw hat, chewing on a toothpick, as he slouched back. "Captain," called Katakuri, to which Luffy responded by jumping up, and greeting the group with a smile. Guild observed the exchange, where Crocodile nodded, acknowledging the straw-hat man. Monet looked a little flustered while Katakuri remained poised. "Ah. See Tom, I told you I'll get Guild to join me," Luffy exclaimed, as he looked at the man behind the wooden desk, who continued to look through mountains of paperwork. "Sir Mugiwara, I have told you, after what you've done for us, I don't need any of you. I'm happy to make your ships for free," stated Tom, as he continued to work on the paperwork. A young man stood by Tom who handed him the correct paperwork to look at. This young man was Iceberg, one of Tom's apprentices. "Nonsense, your employees will not work for free, not on my watch." "Fine, and also thanks for the parts from the massive casino ship. That will go a long way in speeding up the process of making your ships. I want 8 ships by the end of the month. If you need it, my men can help," Luffy offered. No Sir Mugiwara, you commanders should sit back, and continue to give input on what they want for their ship. Just let people take care of you. We are not known as a shipwright district for nothing. Alright then, call me if you need me." Luffy began to walk back, looking directly at the Guild. His gaze was careful, studying his very being. The Guild felt like succumbing to the pressure. Luffy instead extended his hands. "Pleasure to finally meet you, Guild. Glad you could join us. Glad to be here." Luffy gave Guild a smile before speaking with Crocodile and Katakuri, Guild following them. They got on the elevator, and it began to descend. "You guys are the last to arrive," Luffy said. "Guild is a stubborn guy," Crocodile said with a smirk, egging on the Gold user. "That's exactly why we need him. Sorry about your ship." "It's okay," responded Guild. "So who's here?" asked Katakuri. The elevator finally reached the bottom floor, the sun covering their gaze from what's in store. "See for yourselves." Outside the main building, many familiar faces were in the proximity, though some others who were infamous due to their notoriety and their wanted poster. Guild looked around at the assortment of personnel that were all under Mugiwara. "Holy shit," was all Crocodile could say. Meanwhile, Katakuri had a smirk on his face, more new blood to push to the limit. A restructuring of the divisions was in order. About damn time. Arlong was the first to greet the group. He was visibly more muscular, and he now sported a golden trident on his back. "You guys are so slow. You had 1 job, and I had 8. Lucci now sported a white suit from head to toe. His top hat was now white color, and he now had a bird on his shoulder. "Oh, this is Satori. He's gonna be joining me from here on out." "Ah, friends, it has been some time." Bert greeted the group. Nothing was different about him, though his confidence was oozing. "Monet, your sister is well with Redleg." Mihik was the last to greet them, to which Monet embraced him. "I know, thank you," Monet said before breaking the embrace. "Alright, now that everyone is here, check out your ships," exclaimed Luffy with a massive grin on his face. "Though not even being cocky, my ship is better than all of yours." Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.